Powered by Red Media in partnership with TSN, it is season 6 of the Rain Dregs Hockey Podcast, presented by our title sponsor, Tim Hortons. The iconic duo just got more iconic. So you get a classic donut for $1, that's one loonie, when you order any size original or dark roast coffee. You can choose from the apple fritter, Boston cream, honey cruller, old-fashioned plain, chocolate chip, vanilla dip. Classic way to enjoy your coffee. And there you are, Ray, for our YouTube fans in Montreal. I'm in Ontario, making my way to Montreal first thing in the morning, assuming we can get there. I mean, why complain about the weather? We can't do anything about it, right? But there is something about the eastern part of this great country that just once or twice you get walloped by snow systems that come through. And here in southern Ontario, it's less than it is obviously in Montreal and in Quebec. But you're just reminded of how every once in a while Mother Nature goes, no, I'm still in charge here. So you're holding up okay?
Yeah, we're good. Last night went to the game and walked, we're really short walk to the Bell Center, get back to the hotel, and I'm looking at the weather, just updating it because we've heard there's a storm coming, and I'm like, ooh, that's all coming overnight. And so one of the last things I do before I go to bed is read that. It's coming overnight. Storm's going to hit. So I don't know why. I opened the curtains up this morning and I was like stunned. I was like, oh, look at that. It's like, I just read it, right? So, and it's not like they're not getting cheated here. That's for sure. I'll tell you. That's I'm a little. You're worried about tomorrow. I'm looking a little longer range Sunday, and I'm like, I hope they got lots of shovels out at the airport because
it sounds like this. You're right. Coming. It sounds like there's another one coming through too. So it's not just
that's the one I'm worried about. It's not today.
Sunday.
It's the Sunday. The hope is to get home.
So We've got Darren Pang, the analyst for TNT, who was between the benches for Game 1, Canada and Sweden. He's going to join us on the Rain Dregs podcast coming up shortly. And I don't know about you, man, but if you're not entertained by what we saw in every aspect last night, the setup, the game, 10 minutes of 3-on-3, I mean, frankly, we can't be friends because aside from really being the harsh critics that we can be in this sport from time to time, there were just so many things that reminded us of the greatness of true international play. I mean, it was pinch-hit kind of stuff at times, just watching it all unfold.
I don't think there's one thing to bitch about last night. It was a phenomenal night. Like walking over to the rink and seeing, like a regular Canadiens game, all the fans walking towards the building. Yeah. And then as you got closer, you could feel like it was just different, right? Like
an energy.
Were excited. Yeah, Canada jerseys and people excited in the warm-up and, and nobody in the NHL does it better, the ceremonies pregame than here in Montreal. And when they brought Mario Lemieux out, nobody knew he was coming, or very few people. And I had heard that he would be, the Canadian representative. And so I'm kind of looking down the runway. I see Daniel Alfredson. I see Markov, I see Barkov is going to come out with the Finns because he wasn't playing as well. And you can see them all kind of lining up there, and then it's time for Canada, and there's nobody there, and I'm like, oh, that's Mario for sure. So they've got him hidden in the back, and the ovation literally made the hair stand up on my arms. Yeah. It was just amazing. Like it was like the king coming back. And here in this city, of course, they revere, as they should, one of the greats in the history of the sport, Jean Beliveau, for his class and his style and his play. And Mario would be our generation's Beliveau in this area. And oh my gosh, it was just amazing. And then to watch the people, like, the explosion of excitement to watch Sidney Crosby, like that was also noticeable. And then, like a picture book start, right? Like if you're drawing one out, like the whole building went, before they cheered on the goal, they went, oh, like you could hear everybody on the pass, and then McKinnon shoots it in. And it was an amazing night, made great by the backbone of the Swedes.
Yeah.
To come back and play that game. Like, they got run out of the building in the first 15 minutes. They didn't have a shot.
Yeah.
But Dregs, I've done international hockey forever. Is this not the formula? The favorite gets way out in front. It looks like the game is going to be over. And then the European team just hangs around, right? And then they get a goal, and you're like, as soon as they get the goal, you're like, oh boy. Here it is. And it was awesome. So great to be in there.
So let's go through the Tim Hortons headlines. And again, we've got Darren Pang coming up from TNT, so we're going to overlap. He was in the moment, just like you, inside the building. I mean, he had a front row seat, literally a front row seat. So we'll get his experience coming up on the podcast. And I think it's fitting that we start with Sidney Crosby, and we'll weave our way through here in this conversation in headlines of what that power play looked like in 10 seconds. It looked pretty good.
Looked pretty good there.
Yeah. But just the stage was set perfectly for Canada's captain, right? I mean, and I want to back it up a few days if I can here, because, hey, there was legit concern that Sid would not be able to go, until he got on the plane and made his way to Montreal. And even then, told Canadian brass, I feel like I'm progressing. I'm not going to be sure until I skate. And I really tested on Monday, which he did. Then he declared himself fit. And I mean, Canada, like the Americans, like all four of these nations, is loaded with talent. But it really would have put a damper on the event, wouldn't it? If Sid hadn't been able to go, and for every reason, now we can understand and feel why. 3 primary points, the picture with Mario in the pregame, like just everything about it. So let's get to the hockey side of things here now, Ray. Talk about his game overall. I mean, we'll get to all the other levels and whatnot, but where does it start for you on the power play? And, McDavid to Crosby across to McKinnon, or where does it begin for you with Sid?
Yeah, I think, I ran into Jon Cooper the day before, and he was talking about coaching Sid as opposed to just watching him. And the way that, like, when he walks through the room, the way the other players react, and the way that when he does something at practice, he's like, it's just like, he was talking about his aura.
Yeah.
And I think what I've come to realize about, the great gift of watching someone like Crosby in their whole career is they go through whatever their ups and downs are. I mean, Sid has got remarkable successes all over the place. And Chris Cuthbert had a stat last night. In the last 15 years, Canada is 26-0 when Crosby's in a jersey. Like, how is that even possible? It doesn't make sense. Possible, except anyway, it is possible. But I think we're in this part of Sid's career where there's a great appreciation and understanding what he's meant to the game and what his talents are, even in the cities that don't like him because he just plays in Pittsburgh and they're rivals, right? Like that, and that's always going to be the case. But there's just, so you say, where does it start? I think with him just showing up.
Yeah.
And then the people here, there's a great appreciation in Montreal for the history of the game and the greats of the game. And you get to see Sid once a year, unless he's hurt that time, and then you don't get to see him for 2 years.
Yeah.
They were so excited when his name was announced.
Sure.
And then boom, 1 minute in, it's 1-0. He makes that great pass and his buddy puts it in the net. And so and if you remember, when it was 2-1, the Swedes had totally taken over the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Canada was hanging on.
Yeah.
And then it felt like the tying goal was coming. It was going to be there. And then all of a sudden, Sid gets one little pass. He shields off a really good defenseman and lays it back, and Mark Stone scores. And you're like, there he is again. And then in overtime, he's out of gas. And a sneaky underrated play is the awareness of, so when he drops it back, that's a nice play, right? To regroup.
Yeah.
It's like a power play regroup. But if he is not aware and doesn't turn on a dime and get back out of the zone, it's offside.
Yeah.
Right? So like I don't know. It was a perfect Canadian night led by the captain. It really was.
So I was in the viewing room with Jeff O'Neill and Mike Johnson and James Duthie and our crew. We did pre and post for the opener against the Swedes. And, O-Dog wasn't questioning coaching, but probably 2-3 times in overtime. Where's 87? Where's Sid?
Because he's 37 years old. Like, you can't play him all the time.
I know, but that's the fan in all of us, right?
Okay, Dregs, that's a really good point. There was a giddiness around the building. Yeah. And so I'm there watching the game, and I'm telling the people I'm with, I'm like, this is so fun to watch as a fan. Like, this is amazing. I might have snuck a hot dog in while I was watching the game. Show. Oh, yeah, ketchup and mustard. You got to put the both on there. A few onions. And I was just like, this is amazing to watch because we just haven't got to see it. And so when I'm looking at these duos coming over the boards and you're like, oh, boy, that's a really good pair. Oh, there's another really good pair of forwards, right? And you're like, come on. Somebody goes, how would you like to go? Oh, this is great. I got through Crosby and McKinnon. Like if you're the Swedes, we got Crosby and McKinnon off the ice. Oh, great. Here comes McDavid and Marner. Fabulous. Like, it's just like, it was so fun, but that's where the game can't be good if the Swedes don't respond. Agreed. And they were from the second period on, they played unbelievable hockey. Yeah. And Jonas Gustafsson in goal, aces yesterday. He was phenomenal, I thought.
Yeah. So occasionally I've been accused of being a Mitch Marner cheerleader, and it goes back to the days
I've
of
heard
his last
that
contract. Yeah. I mean, whatever. That. I reported on the progress that was being made. He gets
you don't have to make
Anyway, but I'm not gonna lie. So watching him in overtime, it didn't look like there was chemistry throughout that game between Marner and McDavid, and maybe that's because there were a handful of plays there where Connor just took over, and he doesn't really need anybody else out there. So maybe that's why it felt like that or looked like that. And I think it was the shift in 3-on-3 before he scored, where he had a couple of decent opportunities to shoot the puck. And typical Mitch elected not to. He's a playmaker, right? So I don't know if something was said to him on the bench or if he just self-awareness went, all right, if I get another opportunity, I'm going to shoot that thing. And so as a Canadian fan, of course, you're happy with the outcome. Canada wins in overtime. But I felt good about Mitch because if that game had gone the other way and the Swedes win, one of the storylines, at least in the Toronto market, would be Marner McDavid doesn't work. And I'm not kidding. That would have been one of the takeaways of that hockey game. And I don't think it's fair. But again, one of the silver linings in any of this individually is the fact that Marner shot the puck. It was a hell of a shot. And he gets his moment.
Okay, but so, man, I've never coached a game in my life. So far be it from me to be tell anybody how to coach, certainly Jon Cooper. But when I saw the lines come out, my concern was that both of McDavid and Marner are, they're differently brilliant, but they're creators. And unfortunately, you can't both create at the same time. And so I do wonder if, as this tournament goes along, if they make an adjustment with the lines, if it doesn't click. Like, just think, like, Drew Doughty said last night was the fastest game he's ever played. Now, I think that's a little bit of hyperbole from a 35-year-old guy that's played 6 games this year and only had 5 defensemen. I think he was totally gassed. I think the game Saturday against the Americans is going to be amazing.
Oh boy!
And so, but I wonder if the creators really do work together. Like it makes me wonder. Like I like Reinhart with McDavid because he's a shooter,
Yeah,
but maybe you need somebody a little different there, and so Mitch can generate a little differently. Like I see him with Point a lot
I
more
agree. Yeah,
a lot more hand in glove than I do with McDavid. But in any case, he had a chance to shoot it. He does shoot the puck well. He's not going to ever be a 250, 300 shot guy. That's just not the
yeah.
way he plays. But he had space. He saw the gap, which was, of course, created by Crosby driving everybody into the zone. And he made a perfect shot, and everybody goes home happy. Um, it, it was a really interesting thing to watch, like the game itself. It was really interesting.
All right. So they lose Shea Theodore, and
Brutal.
I mean, like again, tough for Theodore. I mean, what a way to go out. I mean, game one, come on, and there's risk of injury in every game that's played, whether it's Four Nations, NHL regular season, Drew Doughty in the preseason. Come on, that's just the nature of the sport. So. How do you see the pairings moving forward now? Because there will have to be adjustments. We know Sanheim was the healthy scratch going into the event for game one. So clearly he comes back in.
I don't think there's anywhere to go. Sanheim goes with Doughty.
And, has to, right? Because you'll right. leave your Colorado guys together.
Well, that's not changing.
No.
Morrissey Parayko is a really solid pair, right? I thought Morrissey was good last night. And then and that leaves you one other pair. I mean, the only other way you could change it is if you flip Parayko and Doughty.
Right.
Really, I mean, that's really the only change that you possibly could make. But I think with Theodore out, and I hope it's not anything other than maybe he's jammed up a wrist or something, and that's it. But it was a tough, that you could see on the hit that he went up to brace, and that was where the injury was, and so that left Canada with 34 minutes with 5D.
Yeah,
and or more than that, 37 minutes, and that's a tough way to play. So I hope he's okay. He's having a fabulous year in Vegas, but this is the one hold your breath thing that every team has in this tournament.
I mean, we'll talk goaltending with Panger coming up, but was there at any point in that game maybe the Kempe goal where you went, they might have a tough decision to make going into Team USA? Like, do you stick with Benner here? Do you go to Aiden Hill, another Stanley Cup champion? Or based on the way his game elevated too, right? I mean, he made some serious saves in overtime later in the game, despite the fact that Sweden fought back and tied it at 3. Was there a point in that game, and maybe it was the Kempe goal, where you went, yeah, one of the storylines is there right now?
It's maybe a little nitpicky, but the Kempe goal had a little bit of odor to it, right? I didn't like the first goal. I mean, I thought it hit the middle of the net.
It did.
And I'm like, so 2 of the 3 goals, I wasn't, what does it matter whether I loved them or not? I didn't like them. Like I thought, man, he's probably got to stop those. But then the way he played down the stretch and into overtime, he made 4 or 5 fantastic saves, including the game saver was on Kempe in overtime. Yeah. That was an amazing stop. And so Marner's heroics and Crosby's 3rd assist, they don't happen without that. By the way, I just thought of one thing. I'm just going to jump off the goalie for a second. Nate McKinnon needs 3-on-3 like a hole in the head. Oh my God. He had 4 shots in overtime, and it was one of them. He was at the dead end of a shift, and he got the puck behind the net, and there was room. And all of a sudden, he was still the fastest guy on the ice. Like it was almost like the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner cartoons, and it's like, here he goes again. Oh, it was so fun to watch that. Yeah. So I thought Sweden's goalie played better, but he gave up 4 goals. He had tougher shots than Binnington did, but when Binnington had to make the save, he made it. I don't think there's any question he's the starter Saturday.
Excellent. Can't wait for it. Team USA, Team Canada, Saturday at the Bell Center in Montreal. Those are your headlines. Thank you to Tim Hortons. All right. Pleased to be joined by Darren Pang and TNT on the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast. And, Pang, Ray and I talked about this earlier in the Tim Hortons headlines, but just the theater that is the Bell Center in Montreal, the fan base that is in Montreal, and everything that goes into a special night and an opener that we saw last night with Canada and Sweden. You were front row center between the benches. I mean, talk about the myriad of emotions that you experienced, and probably started well in advance of Mario Lemieux and the pregame ovation. But kind of take us through what you were experiencing from that pregame all the way through the power play goal and just how the game unfolded.
Yeah, Driggs and Ray, thanks for having me on here. It was a real pleasure. I mean, I warmed up the seat for Ray. It's all nice there for you, Ray. It's
Not much room,
one
eh,
of the
Panger?
not much room, but really it's one of the best spots in the
Yeah.
league without having it a designated between the benches spot. For those that haven't been there, it's just it's you don't take it for granted, huh, Ray? You just
No.
you look around and you say, man, I can't believe that I'm right here like this in a moment like this. So the day started real early, going to practice, being around everybody,
Yeah.
um, grabbing a nice smoked meat sandwich and some poutine. That got things started. But I think the whole day, Dregs, is like you're watching practice. You're milling about because everybody stands around. As we all know, it's like an Olympic event, and they're bringing up a
Yeah.
few people to the podium. And now you're starting to get the feel for the two teams. You're getting a feel for the Swedish coach, and I spent some time in the locker room, with Linus Ullmark actually, and Gustafsson. Got to meet Samuel Ersson for the first time. Three of the nicest goaltenders you're ever going to meet. Those guys, oh my goodness! But now you get the feel for it. Now you get to the rink, and we found out earlier in the day that Mario was going to be the last one to drop the puck. And man, I was really pumped up for that. I thought, like, who else other than Wayne and and Mario going out there together,
Yeah.
and to know that it was as Mario and everybody else too. I mean, Solani's been walking around. Peter Forsberg's been there as well, and you look, and then I saw Mike Richter, because as Ray knows where we stand, nobody wants you in the way, so I'm tucked in between the towels and I don't know, some case of water, something like that, and I'm trying to make myself even smaller than I am, and the NHL people are saying, hey, you got to stay out of the way. We don't want you in the shot and everything. Next thing you know, which is really great about hockey, and that here Solani comes right over. He kind of exits his line. He comes right over and gives me a big hug, and then I see Mike Richter. I haven't seen Mike for a long time, and he comes over, and when it got to the very end, and big Ace, big Mario just comes over and shakes my hand, and just he always just looks so much bigger than life, and he's always so a gentle giant. And if I could take a modern day Jean Beliveau, guys, and
Oh,
throw him
yeah.
right there, I think that's just who walked on the ice last night was Jean Beliveau, and the fans just went crazy, and it was really great. So anyway, a lot of emotions there, and thinking about passing the torch, and uh, I was part of that broadcast way back when with ESPN when we actually closed the Montreal Forum and we opened the Bell Center, and the show was amazing the way they handed off. Remember the
Captains.
big. I'm not. Yeah, the
Phenomenal.
captain, and it was just like
Yeah.
they just do it so well. So, anyways, a real honor to be there and to see Sidney go up there. And obviously, they lived together when Sidney was starting, and they're great friends. And then bang, the game starts, and Sidney starts the way he started, and it was just an incredible way to start the game. Power play goal right off the hop, and yeah, it was buzzing. It was buzzing for sure. Is the word? It was electric.
Yeah.
I thought my partner Brendan Burke really called a great game. He just had it like every crescendo of anticipation. He was like right on it, and it really, you just had to sit back. You could close your eyes and you could listen, and you could feel the game. And the fans in Montreal make you feel the game so well, because they understand the game so well. So yeah, it was a great moment for sure.
Panger, like I had said earlier about Beliveau and Lemieux. I mean, it's for the younger people, they wouldn't really know about Beliveau, but that the regalness, it was like he was just so much grace, and that's the way Mario. I've always looked at him, and I was saying to the people I was sitting with, oh my God, like sometimes I can't believe I played against him. Like, because it's like from a different planet. Like the way that he went about himself. I was interested the first 15 minutes. I think the Swedes touched the puck 3 times,
Yeah.
and they didn't get. I think Jordan Binnington was a rumor to them. Like I think he's down there, but we haven't got down there. Did they feel shell shocked a little bit because they looked slow and not timid, but
Yeah.
overwhelmed? And then all of a sudden they found their footing. What did the first 15 minutes of that look like?
Yeah, Linus, as you mentioned, alluded to that. Linus Ullmark was right beside me, and when the game starts like that, Ray, you don't want to look too much onto their side. You're right on their bench, but
Yeah.
you could really feel even Linus kind of. Oof, it gave me a couple of these like whoa, like we're watching. Connor go by us 158 miles an hour, and then you turn around
Was
and
that the
there's
official? Was that
McKinnon.
the official? Was that the
Yeah,
official speed?
Yeah,
Okay.
I had it.
it's pretty
I had
close.
I had that Ferrari going 158 miles an hour, and then the smaller engine McKinnon came putzing by there a little bit as
Yeah.
well,
Oh,
and then and by the way, then here comes Cale Makar. Like, where did he come from? So yeah, I think it overwhelmed them. But I think Sam Hallam, their head coach, he was really good in an interview halfway through the first period on the bench, and he said, "Hey, we're a good team too. They
Hmm.
scored the first goal. It was a power play goal, and it was a great goal. They've got great players, but we're a good team, and we got to get to our game." And it was quiet though, Ray. It was a quiet bench. Canada's bench was so attentive. Everything was on and off the ice, 30 seconds on and off. And everybody was uh, really more boisterous than I've heard NHL benches.
right.
Heads up, just the simple things that used to be so basic, but heads up, you got time, yelling, good change, right wing, left wing, center. Like it was a clinic in line changes for me. And that's why the fresh bodies just kept coming, rolling over. But there was a noticeable difference between the speed of the centerman. And I said that before the game. I
Yes.
mean, you just look at the centermen. If Braden Point or Sorelli is your slowest centerman, are you kidding me? They're faster than any one of the centermen on Sweden. And
Yeah.
I thought Elias Pettersson he just looked like he was standing in muck for a little bit at a time, and
Yeah.
Zibanejad the same way. So I think they got caught looking, and maybe more concerned with their positioning to defend the speed and the counterattacks and whatever. But I will say this, that once they found their game, the bench didn't change. It's not like Canada's mouth got all dry, because it didn't. But you could feel Sweden. Oh boy, they're coming on a little bit, and they're feeling more comfortable in
Mm.
their game. So, but that's the fun part about being between the benches. Ray, is just feeling
Yeah.
the ebbs and flows of the team, of the coaches, of the attention to details, and so you mentioned Binnington. Like, the one thing Sweden was doing, I'm like, I think I said it on the air. Have they not done their scouting report? Like, you're going to dump the puck into Binnington? He's the best puck handler in the league. He's,
Yeah.
he's just toying with you. So why would you even put the puck there? So I think they had to make some adjustments after the first and figure things out, and slowly grab their game a little bit better.
Um, of course, aside from the overtime, not aside from the overtime win, a big part of the night was Sidney Crosby, and
Mm,
for clearly for many people in that building, it was just a treat to see him play for Canada again. Chris
yeah,
Cuthbert had a stat on the air. In the last 15 years, Canada's 26-0 when Crosby's
yeah,
been in a jersey. 26-0, which is ridiculous. But maybe talk a little bit about, you know, we use this generational stuff a lot now, but I mean,
Yeah.
clearly the generational player along with Ovi of this
yeah.
generation. It was I thought it was just an appreciation people are starting to have or have had for the last couple of years of what Sid means to the game. That's what I thought last night was about.
Yeah, and remember the first goal that he scored? Wasn't it against Theodore in Montreal? And
Oh,
didn't Gord Miller say "Welcome to the NHL" or it was
how long
it was a
ago
great
was it? Yeah,
call.
how long ago, right?
Yeah,
How long ago was
it
that,
seemed like
right?
100 years ago, and about 4 years ago, I remember somebody saying, "Oh, Sidney Crosby's he's gonna be right up there with one of the greats." And I'm thinking, I don't know about that. He, we got so many great players that are below Mario and Wayne that have got 690 goals. I mean, that Yzermans and the Sakic's and, the Ronnie Francises in that group. And sure enough, 4 years later, there he is, with 600 goals and whatever it is, 1,600 points and more. And he's not slowing down just yet. But don't you think, Ray and Darren, that this is it just revitalizes some players that don't
No.
maybe don't have a chance to get in the playoffs or have had disappointing years or are looking around their own franchise and going, man, we're moving this guy, we're moving that guy. I've lost Gensel and now I get to put on this sweater and your heartbeat must just be just pounding in such a youthful, great way. So, but watching him play, isn't it something? There was Mario
Yeah.
playing left wing on his final, on his final tour, and when he and I remember a great story from the 2002 Olympics, and I was with NBC at the time. And I happened to get into the locker room. It's a long story as to why my camera wasn't there, but I'll regret. I won't go there. But so I'm sitting alone in Team Canada, and Hockey Night had somebody there, and it might have been Scott Oak, and I had all the access in the world. Here I am, but I don't have a cameraman. So I look around. The room's not full yet because the players have to go through that cattle call of media
Yeah.
outside. And Gretz hands me a cold Labatt's Blue, and he goes, "Shh, are you done working yet?" And he hands me a beer, and so here I am in the room, and I'm watching these guys celebrate, and I've had a lot of celebrations with my buddy Stevie Y, and he looks around, and he goes, "Isn't this great? Like here you are in the room again." And he looks over, and there's Mario in the corner, and he's got the gold medal. He's got a black. It's supposed to be kind of one of those tight form-fitting shirts, but he wasn't quite in the best shape, and so he's sitting in the corner. He's got the gold medal. He's got a cigar. He's got a cold beer. And Steve looks at me and he goes, "And that is the greatest player in the world today." And I still laugh at how the great ones can muster up something
Yeah.
they just make great plays when the moment's at its highest and the magnifying glass is just there around them. And there was Sidney last night. It was
Yeah.
just perfect. He's
Well,
not going away anytime soon.
No, and it may be in the moment, because I'm not here to dissect what Jon Cooper specifically said, but he did say to the media post game that Sidney Crosby will go down as the greatest player to represent his country. I mean,
Well done. Well said.
No.
That's the
but
lawyer in Coop right there.
Yeah, it's deserving and high praise, obviously, for the number that CC put out there, 26-0, and then to come off all of the uncertainty of coming into the event. He's not feeling great. He's got something upper body, doesn't matter. But then to play the way he did and lead his team and his country the way he did in the opener. And you're right. I mean, that's Jon Cooper not pulling that out of thin air. Like he gave that some thought going into the event.
Yeah, he did.
Sid just played it out the way he would have expected him to.
Yeah,
Hey, Panger.
you're exactly right. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead, Panger. Finish your thought.
No, I mean the other one of those many stats that we saw last night that he's never not won a gold medal when he's been the captain.
Wow.
So while he's had the C for Hockey Canada, he's never not won a gold medal. He's won a gold medal every time. So
I guess,
I mean, Coop would have been really
Worlds.
Coop would have been really ballsy not giving him the C just to see if it mattered.
Just to see how it worked. Okay, Panger, because you're a card-carrying leading member of the Goaltenders Union. Here we go. So, Binnington, you know him well from your days in St. Louis. By the way, we've covered in the background of this interview, Panger working for TNT, ESPN, NBC, the Blues. Now he works with the Blackhawks. You must have a great den with all your things of teams you've worked
Mic
with.
flashes and everything.
Oh, it's all over the place. By the way,
the guy was CBS at the '98 Olympics. By the way.
Oh yes, by the way, really great interview you did there. By the way, with a young Cammy Granato.
Because I got to witness the greatest female hockey player win gold, and also the first NHL time they walked onto the ice as Olympians. So
you've had
that was the best one.
Hell of a career,
and I do have
buddy.
I have that
Hell of
Mike
a
flag
career,
too.
man.
I got thanks, buddy.
So you're not getting away from Binnington. We're going back there.
Yes, go back there. Yeah.
So my question is the Kempe goal probably he doesn't like. Now you know what I know about goaltending, which is not much. The Brodin goal I didn't love. Kind of hit the middle of the net. So yet then at the end of the game he makes 3 unbelievable saves. One was a blocker save. One was the good one. The great one was on Kempe. So is that a little bit of just the way it is with Binnington? You might give up one you don't like, but he's going to fight and claw. Is that the way we should look at it? Because at the end
Yeah.
of the day, he did exactly what he needed to do.
Yeah, you know what, Ray? He's a very unique personality. Gotten to know Benny very, very well since he was drafted, by the Blues and coming to training camps, and 5 training camps went by, and 5 training camps he got sent down. In that last year that he won the cup, he was going to be relegated to the East Coast Hockey League because there was no room, and he
But
and
he
Mike
wouldn't
Liut, his
go.
agent, but he
That was the
wouldn't go,
crazy point.
and
Because
and
Landon
that's
was in
that's
the
his
American League. My son was in the
yeah.
American League that year, and he goes, "Yeah, he goes, you got to see this young guy, Binnington. They want to send him to the American League or to the East Coast League." He's like, "Yeah, I'm not going." So
Incredible,
amazing.
and big. I mean, he's got big balls. He does. He's got, and I say that in such a complimentary way in terms of how he feels about himself. He's always
Yeah.
been very, very confident. I'm sure his first year in St. Louis, he's probably thinking, I got a good chance of making it, maybe the next year, and then it's the next year, and he was just kind of a forgotten prospect, and then he became a non-prospect, and then he went to Providence and played there, where they tried to trade for him, if I'm not mistaken, and from Doug Armstrong, and Armstrong wisely, wouldn't give up his rights. He was an
Right.
all-star for Providence, and so anyway, as you go along to last night, and I think the one save too, Ray, was Zibanejad,
That
late.
Yeah.
that was the one. That
Yeah.
was the one.
He
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, and so I'll go through the goals. The one by Kempe, there's a lot of things I didn't like about that goal, and it all started with how Canada, for me, inexplicably didn't defend a 1-on-2. Like
Yeah.
as a
They
goaltender,
got deep.
I don't
They
want a
got
guy
deep.
walking down Broadway. They sure did with speed. We all know Kempe's a great skater, but he's got a wicked wrist shot,
Hmm.
and I'm not sure the miles an hour on that one there. But I always found that a rush chance, what I don't mean when the chance like from the blue line, but once you go from the blue line and you have speed and you fire it from the top of the circles, like you're really picking up some momentum there. And your defensemen are in an awkward spot. Your defenseman, I think it was reaching out, and you got, or I think it was Doughty. You got bad gap
Doughty.
closure.
Yeah.
You got speed, and those are the kinds that get through you. It kind of leaked through him, and he looked small on that play.
Yeah.
And so, I think as he'll break it down again, he's got to get out a little bit more. There's nowhere else for Kempe to go. You got to get out. You got to get a little bit more square and get a little bit bigger. But I will say this, Ray: those are hard ones to stop when you've got a
Right.
player that shoots the puck like Kempe. I'd rather have a one timer
Yeah.
from the top of the circles on a set play, to be quite honest with you, because you can face the puck carrier, you can anticipate where it's going to go, and you can get out there. And cover the angle. The Brodin one, yeah, you're right. He got lost with a bunch of stuff going on, and then he got small on that one. So, but that is Jordan Binnington. He doesn't go away meekly into the night. And I tell you what, if he needs something to stir himself up, he'll start pushing and shoving and starting to try to get some energy that way. Because I've seen that model a few times as well. He's kind of
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
he's kind of like John McEnroe. When John McEnroe was playing poorly, he yelled at everybody, and he broke a racket. He yelled at everybody and broke a racket. Next thing you know, John McEnroe's dipsy doodling and like making shots, and that's him. He can re-energize that way. But there's a calmness about Jordan that people think that when the game gets hot that he gets to be a bit of a whack job. And it's not true. It's a controlled. He controls his own environment, and sometimes he probably goes overboard. But I know with Doug Armstrong, watching him for the last couple of years, I know his composure under fire has been much more controlled. I mean, Team Canada wants a goaltender that's going to be okay, reliable. Everybody knows what you're going to get, and just do your job and represent Canada. And so, big moment for him, big moment to bounce back. You don't want to lose that first game. You don't want to lose it giving up a bad goal. And instead, he turned it right around. and he won the game by making 3 or 4 really magnificent saves. And the crowd, man, did they go
Mm.
crazy on Ray? I mean, you
Yeah.
could just feel with every save, it was like, oh my God, this is unbelievable on both sides. Hey, because by the way, that Gustafson he played
He
his
was
rear
good.
end off. I thought
He sure
he
did.
was really terrific, man. And because they had some decisions too. I thought maybe Olmark was going to start that game when they
Yeah.
said it was Gustafson. I was a little surprised, not overly, but I was a little surprised. But Olmark's one of only 5 goaltenders from January 1 that's got a save percentage of over 90%.
Hmm.
So that's always kind of scary. The Canadian goaltenders are under 90, and other than the 5 guys, and they're just over 90%. Allmark's about 917 in the 2 games he played. So they had some question marks, but I think they got a
Yeah.
great performance from Gus.
Yeah. Well, goaltending was a story for sure, and will continue throughout the event. What a start to the Four Nations face-off.
Yeah.
Panger, thanks for doing this, and safe travels. Good luck getting out of Montreal.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Drace. I was just watching it this morning as I was having a coffee, rolling over after I did Pilates early this morning.
Pilates, right? Did that come with a large cube?
There was some envy in that Pilates, if you know
Yes,
what I mean.
yes. Well said. Thanks, Panger.
You got it. Ray, have a
See
great
ya.
show. Ray, good luck. Have fun.
Thanks,
See you,
buddy.
buddy.
Thanks. I will for sure. We'll
Okay.
talk soon.
Thanks, bud.
All right, good friend of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast, Darren Robert Pang. And,
Yes.
we just had Mike Keenan on last week talking about his latest book, right? Basically a tell-all and the experiences and whatnot. I mean, you've told lots of your stories, career-related and whatnot here on the podcast over the last 5+ seasons, now in season 6. But when Panger writes that book, he can't, because there be 1,000 good people implicated in it. And I'm not saying anything salacious or any of that, but he's one of those guys that just makes everything better. The broadcast is better when Panger is part of it. The party is always better when Panger is there. Playing golf, the game is better when you're playing with Darren Pang. Just one of the good guys in our industry.
I've been on golf trips around the world with him. We've been to Ireland and Scotland a few times, and I've known him in this business for 20 plus years. And you were 100% right. He never comes in and drags energy. He is like, hey, how's everybody doing? How you doing? And he's giving you a shoulder rub and he's checking in on this guy. He knows people everywhere because his personality is a magnet.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's really, really something to be around. And there are times where you're like, Panger, zip it enough.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, oh. But you can just feel like the excitement of the game. Yeah. But the excitement of the game last night, of being there, of seeing the ebb and flow of the game, the greatness of the ceremony prior, and the appreciation for the history of the game, and all of it. It was a great snapshot of what went on last night. It was a wonderful start to this event. I've got the U.S. and Finland tonight, and I think it'll be a little more physical, a little more grindy. That's the way the Finns want to play anyway. So, but I'm looking forward to it because the U.S. has this swagger to them, and
always.
Yeah, I think this will be a really, really good game. And as I said, an amazing start to the event.
Hey, veteran broadcaster Darren Pang, by the way, do you see how he saved himself? We didn't even have to fire out the lifeline when he talked about Binnington, and he just flat out, he's got big balls. And then quickly, found a way to, because automatically as soon as he said it, I'm like, he's a meme. Somebody is going to mess with this. Right. But we understood and appreciate what he was saying, right? It's the character and how this kid battles, but he's a wily old vet. All right, buddy. Well, enjoy yourself tonight. You're in for a good one. No question about that. I mean, again, we talked about the ovation of Mario, the platform of Sidney Crosby. How about when Austin Matthews, captain for Team USA, is introduced in that building? Boo!
that must have been a real torturous cheer when Marner scored. The first time he's been cheered in there for forever. So it'll be I would think it'll be a pro Finnish crowd tonight, and
Yeah.
I hope the game is as entertaining as last night's, because it was fun to be there. It was a great watch. I came home and watched the third period on TV, and after the game was over, I came home, watched the third period on TV, and just like, it was just fun. It was just fun, a great watch, and I hope the event continues as it is.
Yeah. Well, you're going to enjoy the moment tonight, and the rest of the event too. We'll have to schedule our next podcast. Normally we do Tuesday, Thursday. We'll have to look at next week, but I'm looking forward to seeing how the weekend unfolds, including here tonight. We're recording on Thursday, but again,
I think it's got to be Tuesday. Monday is the doubleheader, and then by Tuesday morning we'll know who the final is. So I'm scheduling for Tuesday morning.
Okay, perfect. All right. Okay, buddy. Well, have a great day, and look forward to watching you guys on the broadcast.
Awesome, Dregs. Get the driveway clear, your neighbor's driveway clear, and we'll see you Friday.
I'm on it. All right. Thank you to everybody who continues to watch the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast. Follow us on the multiple podcast platforms. And thank you to our sponsors who support Ray and Dregs and make the pod possible. Our title sponsor, Tim Hortons. And thank you as well to Acon. Until next time, Tuesday, stay safe, everybody.